Hello and welcome to today's edition of Political Voice. I am Sumtu Ajama. There is a lot happening in the political space in Nigeria, but we have two stories on our radar today. We'll begin with Peter Obi declares position on dumping Labour Party, plus APC North Central Forum advocates for regional governance. Joining us right here in the studio is Mr. Okpeoluwa Taiwo, Executive Director, Africa Bridge Initiative, Lagos, Nigeria, and a political analyst. But before we get right into the stories, let's take a global overview of happenings around the world. In Asia, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi today was formally elected as the leader of the National Democratic Alliance coalition, which won the greatest number of seats in the country's national election, after his political party failed to win a majority on its own. The 73-year-old leader, who will be sworn in as Prime Minister on Sunday for a rare third term, will now form a coalition government. Modi's Hindu nationalist BJP has governed India as part of the NDA coalition over the past decade. But this is the first time under his leadership that the party has needed support from its regional allies to form a government. Full results from India's 6-week-long election, which began in mid-April, were released on Wednesday. The BJP won 240 seats, well below the 272 mark needed for a majority in a stunning upset. Together, the parties in the NDA coalition bagged 293 seats in the 543-member lower house of parliament. Somalia secured a position on the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member for a 2-year term, following elections held yesterday, June 6th. In a secret ballot conducted in the General Assembly, Denmark, Greece, Pakistan, and Panama also claimed seats on the Security Council. The 193-member body elected 5 countries for the coveted positions. Regional groups nominated Somalia for an African seat, Pakistan for an Asian Pacific seat, Panama for a Latin America and Caribbean seat, and Denmark and Greece for 2 primarily Western seats. These newly elected members will commence their terms on January 1st, succeeding Mozambique, Japan, Ecuador, Malta, and Switzerland, whose 2-year tenures conclude on December 31st. We will now go on a short break, and when we return, we will delve into today's topics of discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Peter Obi, the Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 election, has reiterated his unwavering commitment to the party amidst swirling controversy. Reports from VOP's news syndicate is that this statement follows a clarification from Obi on Wednesday night, emphasizing that the Obedient movement remains unaffiliated with any specific party. In a statement released via his official channels on Thursday, the former governor of Anambra State recounted an encounter with a journalist at the Abuja airport. Obi addressed inquiries regarding his stance on the Obedient movement, clarifying that his statement did not signal an intention to abandon the Labour Party. He expressed a desire to collaborate closely with party leaders to foster reconciliation among members and forge partnerships with like-minded political entities across the nation. Dismissing claims that the Labour Party had established a directorate for the Obedient movement and appointed 8 members to oversee its operations, Obi asserted that no political entity could dictate the movement's direction. As the primary mentor of the movement in Nigeria, Obi emphasized its apolitical nature, stating that it transcends partisan boundaries and cannot be annexed by any single party. Furthermore, the Labour Party LP has declared its resolve to prevent Obi from defecting to the People's Democratic Party PDP despite internal turmoil. In an interview today, the National Publicity Secretary Abayomi Arabambi reaffirmed the party's stance. Arabambi stated that the party is actively pursuing a political solution to its internal crisis to thwart any potential collaboration between Peter Obi and PDP's Atiku Abubakar ahead of the 2027 elections. Now let's talk about this particular story in the fact that you will recall that Peter Obi was seen in a meeting with Atiku, Saraki was there, a number of other people were there, and that was where the rumors concerning the merger began. And now he's saying that, or PDP rather, has said that there is no talks about a merger. But we did talk about this, and a lot of people had their different perspectives on whether a merger would work or not. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to this part of the story that talks about the obedience movement and this directorate that now exists. I just want to clarify that they are not the same thing from what we've just heard. They're not the same thing. The movement is what he's saying does not have anything to do with partisan affiliation. He said it stands on its own. The directorate, on the other hand, is what was renamed into the Directorate for Mobilization and Integration. I'm sure you're following. Now, we got to that point where the obedience movement started because Peter Obi, because he's named after him, contested for the presidential elections in 2023. He had a lot of hold, he had a lot of sway, he had a lot of power because those people backed him, and that's why it's called the obedience movement. Now that that directorate has been formed, that's completely different from the movement. We're renaming that directorate from Obedient Directorate to Directorate of Mobilization and Integration, fulfill the purpose of mobilizing and integrating without Obi being the focal point of that directorate, because he's saying the movement has nothing to do with the directorate. So what do you think that would do since he has detached himself from that? Will it still fulfill the purpose of bringing people into the party and joining the movement of the party?
Former Governor Peter Obi is, having to be one of the biggest opposition leaders in the last 2023 general election. Is known to be a man with a formidable team. But those formidable team, mostly in some quarters, the sentiment is that those formidable team are online team. So those online team also have their own structure, but those structure lacks offline capacity. They are just structures that are mostly felt online. But being that at its main, so we're having three indices here. Number one, Peter Obi. Number two, the Obi movement. Number three, the mobilization directorate. So that means that he's trying to be more political this time around, saying that means Peter Obi can move to any party. The directorate can be in another team. The obedient movement can also be as independent as it should be, which is actually it's a good one. It's a positive one. He's
not saying he's moving to a different party just yet.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm telling you all the indices.
Because he has actually come out to say he's still a loyal and committed member of the Labour Party.
You know, those
is that what you mean by his?
Those are political statements from a politician, especially in Nigeria. As of today, former Governor Wike is still loyal to his party, but he's working for APC. So if someone says he's loyal, that loyalty can be questioned. So, let's leave that for now. Since this loyalty is not part of our conversation for today, let's leave that.
Well, we'll get there.
We might get there if there's a need. But for now, we are seeing three indicators. So, for me, one thing I would say particularly, number one, Labour Party has no structure. Labour Party has state chapters without structures. What do we mean by structure? We are talking about senatorial structure. All right? We are talking about local government structures. We are talking about ward structures. We are talking about constituency structures. Labour Party do not have all of those structures. But there was a reformation or a jigging of the system because Obedient Movement was supposed to be was supposed to be a structure that do not have any allegiance to any political party. The only allegiance they have is what? Is to Peter Obi.
Absolutely.
All right?
And that's what he has clarified.
And that's what he has clarified. And that is good enough. But you must also understand that as of today, even according to what Arambambi has just said, Labour Party will not open its eye and allow the obedient movement or Peter Obi, as the case may be, to leave the party.
Yes.
Because the only ice cream that is being leaked by Labour Party as of today is coming from the obedient movement. So Labour
who are
Party,
loyal to Peter Obi.
who are loyal to Peter Obi. So invariably, Labour Party will not open their eyes and allow Peter Obi to what?
Walk away.
To walk away. Because for now, it's still the will I call it? It's still
the attraction.
The attraction, and also the ostrich or the animal that is laying the golden egg for them, in quotes. Whether you accept that or not, at least it's still laying the golden egg. At least the funding is coming in. That's what being expanded on a daily basis, both offline and offline.
Do you think that the funding is coming in because of Peter Obi or because of people's support for the Labour Party?
The funding is actually coming because of Peter Obi, not because of the support of Labour Party. Because Labour Party has always been a dead elephant.
Okay, so now that brings me to this question. The subject of the party being bigger than the candidate and the candidates being bigger than the party. I'm sure you've been privy to so many conversations where that has been the major construct. But now, by virtue of this conversation that we're having, and by virtue of everything that's going on with Peter Obi, the Obedient Directorate, and the existence or the detachment of Peter Obi from the Obedient Directorate, which would you say is taking place right now? The party being bigger than the candidate, or the candidates being bigger than the party? And how does whichever one you choose affect the future of Labour Party as an opposition?
All right. One thing we must understand when we talk about politics. In politics,
particularly in view of the coming elections, of course.
All right. In politics, there's no straight-jacketed theory in politics. Politics is dynamic. Affirmatively, most times, political parties are always don't forget what I said. I said most times. I never said all of the times.
Of course.
So what does that mean? For Labour Party as of today, Peter Obi is bigger than Labour Party. Why? He is not bigger than Labour Party because he is Peter Obi. He's bigger than Labour Party because he's bringing a structure which is the obedient movement,
which previously did not exist.
Which previously do not exist within the party or outside the party. So he's not coming as an ordinary candidate. He's not coming as a former governor. No. He's coming in with a structure which did not exist previously in Labour Party. And as of today, we can see that even that structure is bringing in funds, and they're also bringing in what? Masses into the system. So as of today, we can see that the robust structure around Peter Obi is making Peter Obi to be what? To be more bigger than the political party. And that's why I've just said that in political theory, there's no what? Straight-jacketed what? Application. It can swing into any way. But most times, the party is expected to what? To be bigger than what? Than the candidate. And that's why they say in politics that what? Political party is supreme to anyone. No one is above the political party. The political party leaders are what? Are always having their supremacy over the party and the candidate. But as of today, the totality of Labour Party is under what? The captivity or the structure of Mr. Peter Obi.
Okay, so that's a very interesting submission, and it does not exactly negate, or it does not exactly support what you just said about the political party is supposed to be bigger than the candidate. This is a complete movement from that. This is directly opposite of that. And given that that's the reality, and Peter Obi has said he is a loyal and committed member, but you also just said something very poignant. You talked about the fact that Wike still remains a loyal member of the PDP, but he's working with the APC as of right now, very active in the APC's administration as we speak.
That is an anti-party activity.
Exactly. But it doesn't reflect that way because precisely, and it doesn't reflect that way because he still has the backing of the ruling party as we speak, and the support of even people from the PDP as well. So anti-party activities, regardless, it doesn't look like he's suffering any kind of repercussions for that. But let's bring it back to the subject of Labour Party and Peter Obi. So Peter Obi is the face of Labour Party, like it or not. It's the reality of things.
Absolutely.
So now that he has said he's a loyal and committed member, and we've seen that anything can happen when it comes to politics in Nigeria. He has said there are no talks, or his team has said that there are no talks about a merger. But if he's truly serious about becoming president in Nigeria, would you say that a defection or a coalition from the Labour Party or with the Labour Party and any other party, or a coalition of other parties, would make Peter Obi a stronger candidate when it comes to being a worthy opposition for this current administration? And technically, that would mean that he would not be under the Labour Party strictly, because when a coalition emerges, that will not be the case anymore.
All right. Apparently, there are two things are involved here. Two variables are involved here. Number one, if I'm to win the presidency of Nigeria, two things are involved. Number one, it is one thing to be in a party and consistently building a structure within that party, a formidable structure, not just a structure, not online structure like we're having, because what we're having, Peter, and the Obi movement is mostly online movement.
I have to interrupt you here. That's debatable. It's debatable. It's arguable. Because you talked about this obedience movement being the structure. That can't be realistic if all these people are only online.
Yeah, it's a sentiment that some of us are alluded to.
And it's valid. But you understand where I'm coming from when Absolutely. I say that, of course, there will be people in real life who are backing the people online and making things happen in real life, which is where the structure comes in.
Now, let's leave that for now. The two variables that are involved is that it's either you stay strictly in a party, build the structure. And when you talk about building a structure, what does it cost? It costs what? Consistency, integrity, capacity, and what? Funding. Critical funding. Because you have to have a branch office in all the 36 states. And you must also have a what? Branch offices in all the 774 local government areas of Nigeria. All, no exception, if you want to win the seat. All, including Borno, including Sambisa. You must have what? A branch in all the LGA. That's what it takes.
Absolutely.
That's what they say, that politics is what? Business. People say politics is a game. But I say politics is business. It's beyond game. Game can be a fluke. Game can be what? Can be what? Ups and downs. But in politics, consistency is the key. So, if you are building that structure and you're okay with that, you're your way to Aso Rock. Right. That's one variable. Another variable is that I can't build the structure around the 774 local government, but I can build my structure around North Central, North East, Southwest, Southeast. Then, a year to the election, I will now form a merger with another political party or with another candidate who has what? Stronghold in other geopolitical zone of Nigeria that I could not what? Penetrate. Okay. So, it now depends on me having the bigger financial capacity so that my party will not change name. So, he or she can now match with my party and still retain my party name. Okay. So, can you see that we have two variables now?
So, my question to you now would be, which of these, again, this is pure speculation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But which of these do you think is playing out now? Or which of these do you think Peter Obi is, as a presidential candidate, potential presidential candidate, is headed towards?
As of today, if I must say the truth to Mr. Peter Obi, for today, it's not clear about the two structure that I've just defined.
So it's not clear about either.
It's not clear about either of the two variables. Is it too
early to tell?
It's not too early. It's going underground.
Exactly.
It's going underground.
I don't think we should call that campaigning.
It doesn't matter what name you call it. That's way to work. You don't wait until 2 years to. The game has started. The permutations have started. The calculations have started. All right?
I ask this because
the chess place has started.
Of course. Technically, this is just this current presidency's first year in office. And by all technicalities, by the Constitution, he's supposed to spend 4 years in office. But realities have dictated otherwise, historically and otherwise, that usually that goes into 8 years. So if this is just 1 year into office, that leaves 6.5, possibly another full 7 years before anything specific, anything concrete can be determined as campaigning, can be determined as a clear indicator of what will happen for any candidate, any opposition candidate, come the next election. But that's why I asked you, is it too early to tell either of these two variables that Peter Obi is headed at now? And you said no, that technically it might be too early, but he should have already had some certain indicators at the moment.
Absolutely. There must be a game plan on the ground.
Okay. So
whether it's known to all of us
or not.
Or not.
Okay, well, that's another factor. Maybe there are some chess moves in place we can't see just
under the ground, well, which is normal in politics. But beyond that, I could tell you for the fact that when there was a game between in 2015, we saw what happened within the APC. All right? And we saw they were able to what? Were able to sweep
under the carpet.
The carpet. All right? But within that period, there were a lot of permutations that was going on. And it was visible. Mm-hmm. It's a game. And that game, you must move the game beyond being ordinary game. Because if you are having it as a game, you can be playing a game indoor. And you can be playing a game outdoor. But when it's a game, it's still within a circle. But when you make it a business, the proportion is what? It's being blown out of the sphere of game. So right. For now, he has to move beyond the sphere of game and blow out the proportion. So that even the obedient movement will be able to understand where it's going. If not, he might discover that by the time he makes his decision,
they're probably no longer with him.
Absolutely. 50% of the obedient movement will have what?
Moved. Defected.
Moved or defected or decamped, as the case may be.
All right. So one final question, and I need a really short answer for this because we keep hammering on the Labour Party. Before the Labour Party became this big an opposition, if you would call it that, the PDP was the biggest opposition.
Absolutely.
And PDP has said no major talks, or at least they've come out to say, oh, that's not the case at the moment. How strong of an opposition do you think the PDP is, given all the variables you've mentioned about having branch offices in all the states and footholds in each of the 774 local governments in the whole country? So given those variables, how big of an opposition do you think the PDP is at the moment? Not would be, is as of now, without a merger?
Yeah, apparently you can't beat a political party that has been in power in Asoro for 16 years. They have the structure. The structure is there.
Agreed.
The structure is there. As of today, forget the noise online. They are still one of the biggest and the most structured opponents or opposition in Nigeria. So they still hold that ground. They hold it.
Without a merger, is there a future there?
There's still a future in PDP.
Okay. And that's all I needed.
Absolutely. There's a future in PDP.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okpebholo. Let's go on a quick break and we'll come back with the second story. And this time we'll be talking more about the northern sector of the country.
From the views on the streets,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city. The loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries. Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space. Exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, Dissecting the news without fear or favor through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP This Morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews, politics and the economy, sports and even entertainment. Join us weekdays 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Welcome back to Political Voice, and we're moving forward to our second topic of discussion. The North Central Forum of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has issued a call for the adoption of a regional system of government in Nigeria. Addressing journalists in Jos today, Saleh Mandung Zazaga, the president of the forum, underscored the decision, citing alleged marginalization of the region as the reason. Zazaga emphasized that transitioning to a governance framework where each region could independently address its need will greatly benefit the North Central. The chairman highlighted the region's educational quality, natural resources, prowess, and agriculture as key assets that could propel its development and contribute to the creation of a more equitable society. Now, and this is a good time to welcome, of course, Mr. Lawal to the forum to join us for this conversation. Good evening, Mr. Lawal. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. All right, let's begin the conversation. We just rounded talks about PTLB, the Labour Party, and everything that is affiliated with that. But now we're coming to the North Central. And this is the North Central Forum clamoring for a regional system of government. Now, I dare say that this regional system of government is what used to exist previously in traditional times. Well, maybe not a regional system of government, but when we had the Kano Emirates and the Oni of Ife and the systems, the traditional structures that worked along with that, you could call that a regional system. But all of that was before we became Nigeria that we are today. But now that we are Nigeria, and this is a clamor from the North Central talking about going back to that regional system of government, and technically this is again the clamor from IPOB. This is their clamor as well, talking about secession, the whole Biafra state. And Oduduwa movement has had theirs in the past as well. So what exactly would you say, well, let's not even talk about the reason, because technically we all know what the reasons are. The same reasons I believe apply, which is what Zazaga has talked about, educational quality, just basically the access for actual governance to reach the people in their regions. Now, do you think that going back to that regional system of government in Nigeria will favor the people at the grassroots, the masses in those regions better and help them receive better governance? Is Nigeria as a whole, the governance system, is that so bad that the clamor for the regional system is actually a real thing and the masses want that back?
Okay, now, it is that bad. Is that bad? You get it? It's that bad. The government we are running is not, I keep saying it, it's not working.
But is the regional system now the solution?
It's the solution.
So you do agree? Yes,
it's this. I've been saying this now. I've said it here, I've said this in some other media. That's the solution. I'm glad that the president made something that really feel that I like. You get it? He changed the national anthem. I like that. He changed to the old one because that old one was the one that actually Nigerians, put down, not the one we're reciting, which was done by the military. It has only something like serve, master slave type of anthem to serve with heart and mind. What is it? Must we serve? You get it? You are serving with heart and mind. You are something you are not something like somebody is forcing. But this one is something you willingly want to do. And it's telling us dictatorship system. We need to go back to that system in which we all love to work together. We all love to be together. That was why the regionalization come on board. You get it?
Thank you for
I want him to go back to it because it's telling us by the new national anthem now that we need to go back to the old system of governance in which each region developed by itself. You get it? When, like I said, look at Adamawa State.
Yes.
Look at Taraba State. You can put about 3 states of East inside that Adamawa. You are still going to have enough space. No.
Hold on. Before we go into the technicalities of it, where rigging political systems, electoral malpractice, all of that, we put these people, these are the people that are put before us from these political parties, and then we choose the best people from those people that have been laid before us as the people or the person that we want to be the focal point, the person that we want to be number one in our state and in our country. Now, when you say the people are not involved in the government, do you really mean the people are not feeling the impact of the current democracy? Is that what you really mean? Or you really mean that the people are not even involved in electing the right people in the first place?
People are not involved. Because if you ask people on the street, they will tell you, even if we vote, they will still put somebody else there. That means you don't believe in the system.
But is that not a function of the imperfection of the current democracy?
See, system, that is why it is a system. A system consists of many components that make it up. So if those components are not working properly, it will affect every other component. Let me give you the real reason.
Okay.
That resource control is the main. In the regionalization system, each region develop itself, control its resources, develop its area, whatever it has, and then whatever it makes, it gives the federal percentage. So that you can develop on your own. There's a competition. There's I don't want to use the word jealousy among the 3 regions. You get it? So that if you are not ready to perform, the other people are already comparing you with another region that is doing well. So everybody were developing, agriculture was developing, cocoa house was built with cocoa money. University of Ibadan was built with cocoa money. Even UCH Ibadan, it was with agricultural money, it was built with. And so many see, you can see what agricultural money, because the whole areas where there were competitions among them, they were developing.
So if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying the regional system of government worked, and there was evidence.
Now look at this one now. Look at the Niger Delta. You take oil from Niger Delta, you take it, the whole of the oil resources of Niger Delta, you take it to the federal. You now give them percentage out of it. Now look at it. When you take that oil, you have destroyed some people's land.
Of course.
You have destroyed some people's livelihood. You have destroyed some people's homes. Now, when you now take that oil what you make from it,
and you give them percentage.
You now give them percentage. The area that is not destroyed, maybe some states that are not affected, you still give them. So you now decide how much you give them. You give them this one, you give them this one. So those ones that you have destroyed their land, that money will not be enough. But those that did not touch their land, you get it?
It will be an addition to
to them. So now, but if you have this resource control, that Niger Delta, they give you percentage. They can now use whatever they have left, you get it, to develop their area. For example, if they take your land, maybe there's oil in your land, that land now, there's a particular percentage your family will be getting on that land because you have lost your land. That land, you have livelihood on that land. Now they've taken that livelihood away from you. So your family will be getting some percentage all over and over. So you will not agitate. There's no reason to agitate. Why? Because you are getting something from the land. Is that somebody taking
Yes, I understand it. I understand it. Thank you very much, Mr. Lawal. That's a very fine submission. It's a very interesting submission on the system, in support of the regional system of government. But do we still remain Nigeria if the regional system of government still applies? Will Nigeria still be Nigeria, or will we just be? I'm not sure how to phrase it.
It will be Nigeria.
This is for Mr. Okwe.
Okay, sorry.
This is for Mr. Okweluwa, and I need you to answer this. So, what are the technicalities that would take place should that happen? And I need to come back to the initial question which I asked him. Do you think that's a much better system of governance as opposed to what we currently have? So it's a two-part question. And I need you to answer that very quickly.
Apparently, for me, I'm not in support of regionalism.
What's your why?
Why is that regionalism has been a subjugated system of government. All right? Now, when we talk about democracy, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. All right? When you have resources, like E. earlier said, in different regions, what is expected is to harmonize. But if it was not properly harmonized, that is not the fault of democracy. It's the fault of the people.
Of the leadership.
Not the leadership.
The people
not only
themselves.
the leadership. The people themselves. We have allowed too many of theories in politics to what? To allude our mind to the fact that most of all these leaders comes from the people. They did not come from heaven. So if you are talking about regionalism, we cannot be talking about regionalism in the 21st century. APC, non-central, bringing about regionalism. Why? They said they were what? Marginalized. Not because the country is not growing, but they felt marginalized. So assuming they have 5 ministers and they are getting a lot of resources, there will be no reason, no complaint for this regionalism. So you can see that regionalism will breed nepotism, favoritism. The even development we are looking for can only come through democracy. That is what I'm saying. It can only come through what? Democracy. It cannot come through regionalism. It cannot. Whoever is still living in the past should continue living in the past. But we are moving forward into the 21st century, having 25 years of uninterrupted what? Democracy. If we can give that uninterrupted for the next 25 years, we cannot be where we are. We will be on our way to where we need to be. And that's also I'm saying no to regionalism. Whoever is clamoring for regionalism is what? Is selfish.
Okay.
Whoever is clamoring for regionalism is somebody who does not want the growth of Nigeria. That person does not understand the meaning of what? 21st century economic what? Development.
So very quickly, and we do not have a lot of time, so I just need to float this thought by you. During Buhari's regime, a lot of the people in public services and influential public service positions rather, were people from the north. And that was a big problem for people from other regions.
And there was no clamoring for regionalism there.
My point exactly. There was no clamoring then. Would you say that in that time that they were also marginalized and now this clamor is validated? And I need you to answer that very quickly, Mr. Lawal.
Let me tell you something about government. When majority of the people, you get it, are not benefiting from the governance, then the government is not working. It's not, because it's government that's supposed to, be for everybody. But when majority of them people are not benefiting, then the system is not working. Even when during the time of Buhari, the reason why Buhari came on board was that he was complaining about Jonathan.
But that did not change.
No, wait,
that did not change.
Listen, he was complaining. Do you know that he told us during his campaign that fuel will become 15 naira per liter? Do you remember? But when he came on board, you get it, he was telling us another story. Now, he told us that the dollar will come down. But when he came on board, he was telling us something different. You know why? Because the system we are practicing is a system of master-slave relationship in which we talk about godfatherism.
I understand
and this godfatherism, they control the
my
resources.
question to you, Mr. Lawal, is very simple. Was the North complaining about marginalization then?
See, because, listen to me. You get it? I'm not going to go to that area. Because you don't complain.
Does not mean it does not exist?
It doesn't exist. One, your voice may be suppressed. You get what I'm saying? Your voice may be suppressed. You may be threatened. You may not be properly educated. At that time, you may not know what was happening, but you know there's a problem, but you don't know what is until you declare that, no, this is what is causing the problem.
All right.
That is why. So don't say because they don't talk now, therefore, for example, let me give you another one.
Very quickly, we're out of time.
Yes, they talk about it. What do you mean by North Central? What do you mean by North Central? It doesn't make sense. It's a part of what I'm saying, the problem. Because a state, we have states in the middle of Nigeria, you are calling central. Do you have central in the middle or at the edge? It's between these people they call central and north. You get it? They are part of Nigeria that are in between the north and the south. And you are calling them central. How can central be in the middle? Why? Because these people, they don't have a voice. They have been suppressed. They don't have anybody to bring out their voice. They are not happy. It's supposed not to be north central. It's supposed to be mid Nigeria, not north central. North central is supposed to be states in the middle of the northern region.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lawal. I wish we had more time to really dissect this. But these individual factions, for lack of a better term, that are talking about this non-state actors, so to speak, the North Central people who are talking about that they need a regional government. IPOB is also talking about secession. There is clearly something wrong with the basis of our democracy, with the basis of our current leadership. Well, leadership in general, because this is not a new clamor from people. But of course, as we live together in Nigeria, these developments will evolve. And when they do, we'll bring you updates on how they play out. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Opelwa-Taiwo. Thank you for joining us.
Always glad to be on Political Voice.
And of course, Mr. Lawal Ekundayo, educationist and political analyst. Thank you for joining us.
A farmer.
And a farmer. Thank you for joining us. All right, I am Somto Ajama. Political Voice will make a return next week. Good evening.